Greetings YouTube. Today I'm going to review Facing Ali, 15 Fighters, 15 Stories by Stephen Brunt. First off, I'd like to say that Brunt is an excellent name. It made me smile when I first saw it. Interesting, a side note, I finished reading this book at 5 a.m. Friday morning. And as soon as I finished reading it, I turned around to leave the cafeteria. And lo and behold, on the television, which I wasn't watching because I keep my back to it, and I keep headphones on so I can't hear it, was Mike Tyson. Bit of serendipity. Now, this is a book broken into chapters, but each chapter is called a round, 15 rounds. And each chapter deals with one fighter that Muhammad Ali faced during his career. Some that gave him difficulties, some that didn't. Some were complete and utter cakewalks, even though they themselves thought that they were going to do very well. Some of these fighters have come to accept their defeat and have come to admire Ali for who he is, and for what he came to stand for. Some of them are just simply independent and have a very neutral attitude towards him. Some are his friends, and a couple of them are kind of bitter. The most negative in the book is Joe Frazier, who just doesn't seem to be able to let things go in a very unhealthy way. Though I hope I never meet him if he hears me say that. It's fascinating because even if you know the story of Muhammad Ali and his life, to hear these tales from the point of view of the people he fought, what they went through, their brief little biographies about who they were, how they got themselves into the position of facing Ali in the ring, the kind of training they went through, the mental frame of mind they had themselves in, what other people thought about them before they ever got into the arena, and of course the inevitable outcomes. And it was enlightening for me in many ways to see the full depth and breadth of the fight scene from a point of view that I had never encountered it before. I was never much of a fight fan, I'll freely admit this. For me, Muhammad Ali was more of a social figure, a celebrity than a fighter. I saw him as being so much bigger than life that the fact that he was a fighter was almost secondary. Do you know what I mean? But for me, I did have some passing interest at one time, but my interest began and ended with Mike Tyson. I was a major Mike Tyson fan at one time before he decided to become a rapist. Yes, I know that he disputes that to this day, but he was found guilty. He did time for that, and I don't think that he's ever going to be able to prove that it didn't happen, and a jury of his peers said it did. But prior to that, he was one of the greatest boxers the world has ever seen. He was awesome. But then, so was Ali. And I think the best chapter for me was the last chapter, which was Larry Holmes, the guy that finally took him down. Because he seems to have had the healthiest view of the whole situation. He's one of the guys that took care of himself. He set himself a pension fund up. He owned a number of buildings and businesses. He's doing okay for himself. Quite a few of these fighters aren't. They had rough times. They didn't manage themselves well. They thought the money was going to keep rolling in. Some of them did time before they ever became boxers, and one did time after he fought Ali for a drug bust. Some of these guys had really rough lives, but some of them were okay. And it's interesting to see which ones are which. Now, so if you are a fight fan in general, I would definitely recommend this book. And if you're a fan of Ali, I would recommend it. It's a slice of history. Particularly if you were a fight fan, if you're an older person, say a little older than I am, you might take particular interest in this because it's going to be talking about the fights that took place in the 60s and the 70s and maybe even into the 80s. The time when, I think you could argue that maybe boxing was at its heyday. I don't think boxing has the same cachet it does today that it did back then. It just doesn't seem to be the same draw. There's so many other things in the world of sports and entertainment to diffuse people's interest. But back then, when Ali was that bigger than life figure on that stage and in that arena, boxing was something magic in some ways. And I think that we will never see that again. So this book gives you a slice into that world in a way that nothing else is going to.